What's up, everyone? How are we doing today? My name is Amp, and today is a special episode of 60 Minute Suspension because Tyler's girlfriend had a birthday yesterday.
Yeah, for sure.
That was the most depressing, yeah.
What'd you say?
I hope she hears this, like, in the podcast. You literally said, yeah. Like, that was your first yeah. No, it wasn't like, yeah, or like, yeah, I bought her some flowers. Like, you literally were just like, yeah.
I didn't know you were gonna lead off with that. I was gonna graciously say, "Hey, thanks everybody for joining us on a Wednesday," because Anthony so graciously said that I could miss yesterday and we could do this today for Caroline's birthday, which she had a wonderful birthday. She's now the big 2-8. She had a good day. She's out in Colorado singing. So I'm taking full care of the cats here.
Aw, look at you being a daddy.
He almost went down. Anyways, welcome everybody into 60 Minute Suspension. I'm Tyler, co-host with Amp, Anthony Salvera Damon.
That's me.
We're here to bring you the latest off the field issues. So all the tales.
Yeah, and today's episode is going to be a little bit shorter just because we do have. It's on an odd day, so it's Wednesday. Plus, I know you guys have a lot going on. But also, we have a new show debuting tonight, and that's really exciting. It's called The Salty Cult. It's basically done by a guy named Aaron. I met him through just weird situation. Like, I met him through another guy. And Aaron is actually a local podcaster here in the town that I live in, Orlando, Florida. And he wanted to kind of change things up and do a little bit of video and audio. And so this first episode, or their first episode, is tonight, right after this episode of 60 Minute Suspension. So you can check that out at 9 p.m. tonight. And he's going to be going live with him and his co-host. And I'm interested, man. I don't know what they're going to talk about, but I will tell you this. Please put the kids to bed. These guys are very vulgar. They don't care. They give no Fs. So just forewarning you, if you're not into like really, really interesting lingo, maybe not the show for you. But if you're open-minded and you like to have like no filter whatsoever, this is the show for you. So make sure you stay tuned if you like stuff like that. We will have a parental advisory warning on the screen at all times, so you guys know. But it'll be a fun episode, so we'll check that out at 9 p.m. But you are here on 60 Minute Suspension, like Tyler said. Caroline's birthday was yesterday, so today we're going to make up the episode for you guys, bring you some content, and, have some fun with it. Jumping right into it, Hard Knocks has dropped, okay? So Hard Knocks has dropped. If you don't know what Hard Knocks is an HBO series where they basically just take a full-on camera crew. We're talking like 300 employees to an actual NFL training camp that already has well over 200 employees. So you're throwing just a plethora of people in one location as this team is prepping for the NFL season. If you've ever watched like any NFL or any type of documentary that involves sports, then you know that it takes a full just city to film these things. I mean, we're talking literally weeks and months of footage that these guys do, and the editing team for these guys are incredible because they get all this footage and they have probably 4 or 5 days to edit. Like, we're talking hundreds of thousands of hours of footage, and they have to break it down to like a 1-hour episode each week for us to kind of be up to date on what's going on in the camps. So it's a pretty cool show. If you've never watched it, I definitely tell you, you got to check it out. It's really cool. And actually, I didn't even know this. The episodes are on YouTube. I don't think they meant to do that. I think someone just kind of dropped it or bootlegged it, but it's on YouTube right now. So like after our episode of 60 Minute Suspension, go check it out. Literally just YouTube search Hard Knocks, and it's the first thing that pops up. And I got to watch the whole episode today, right before the show. And dude, it's not disappointing. Tyler, what did you think about it?
I thought it was pretty good. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of connectivity with other football shows, like Last Chance U. So that's pretty cool. At least for an episode.
Yeah.
And then there's like there's just a lot of storylines. 3 rookies, 3 first-round rookies that make, that's going to make headlines. Of course, you got John Gruden. He's Mr. TV personality himself, so he's
Right.
going to, chalk it up with the best of them. Derek Carr, he's a quarterback there, so he's got to show some leadership. I got some comments on him. I just think he's an awkward dude, at least on camera. I don't know.
You think so?
He's just awkward.
Yeah.
Yesterday, when I was watching it, him and Gruden were having like a head coach to quarterback talk, and it was a decent talk. It wasn't anything like bad. It was just like a confidence builder or whatever. At the end of it, like Derek Carr goes, "All right, man, I love you." Like it was just awkward because it felt like you knew that like cameras were watching, and it just wasn't a "I love you" situation.
Yeah.
It was like coaching.
Yeah.
Professionalism. And then Gruden walked away, not like walked away, but he just as he was walking away, he just like was like, what? He just threw his hands up. So yeah, there's that, and there's other storylines. It was a good episode. We had a rookie date as well, So, anyways,
Yeah, jump into that real quick because they had their first round draft pick. Who's
Cleveland Farrell. He was I think he was the first pick. What did they have? 3rd or 4th pick there. He was there with he went out with Jonathan Abram, who was like I think he was their 3rd pick in the first round.
I think so too.
Jonathan Abram, he's an aggressive rookie, like really just like a aggressive all around dude, just real aggressive dude. Anyways, him and Cleveland Farrell went to ride horses together and pick grapes, and it was just awkward. I mean, it wasn't awkward. It was just it was cute. It was cute. I would say cute because they literally Jonathan Abram knows horses very well. Apparently, I think he said he owned a couple horses on the episode.
Yeah, he said he had 2.
He owned a couple horses.
Yeah.
I know this, I know that. So that was pretty cool. He looked pretty natural. He knew how to like back the horse up and everything. But then Cleveland Farrell didn't know anything. So they were like laughing at each other, started off real cute. Then they started holding hands while they were riding horses. And then they said they loved each other, which a lot of love is going around at this camp.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, and then they went and picked grapes, and then they were tossing grapes in each other's mouth. So.
And so, like, if you don't usually watch these type of shows, I'll just kind of, spoil it for you a little bit. There's always, like, 1 or 2 players that try to be the star of the show, like, kind of like the class clown almost. And I feel like he's going to be that player this year. Like, he's already making a statement, already standing up, talking a lot. And, I mean, he's talking back to the coach, man. Like, you see that? He was talking back to John Gruden.
Yeah, he said. What did he say? He said like, "You guys can't cut me." Or
yeah,
whatever?
He was like, "I'm drafted in the first round. You can't cut me." And the reason that conversation came up is because they're not in pads and training week or whatever, and so they don't. Physical contact is like really minimum. You're not supposed to lower your shoulder. You're not supposed to really push the guys at all. It's more like just like tapping. It's like. It's not even like 2-hand touch like up in their grill. It's more like you just tap them, and
just let them know you're there.
And
you could make a play possible.
I forgot who he ran into. It was a running back or something. I don't remember who he ran into, but he laid into him like really hard with his 2 hands, like really, getting into him. And John Gruden noticed it. I mean, the whole field noticed it. And so John goes over, talks to him. He's like, "Hey kid, like you can't do that. Like we're out here in shorts and shirts, Also, like that's your brother, like that's your teammate. Like we don't want to kill our teammates, we save that stuff for Sunday." And Jonathan's just like giving him shit back, and he's like, "What? Nah, man. Like, I just want to play." And he was like saying stuff like, I'm the first round pick and stuff like that. I'm just trying to get ready, be pumped. And John actually is the first one who initiates it and says, "Listen, son, if you can't get in line, if you don't understand what I'm saying, or if like this doesn't make sense to you, we can either bench you or cut you." And that's kind of what he said. I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit what he said, but I know he said the word cut. And then that's when Jonathan literally comes back to him and says, "Oh, come on, coach, I'm the first round pick. You can't cut me." And wow,
that's crazy. That's crazy. How do you say that to your coach?
That's your head coach.
And Gruden didn't say anything back to him.
Yeah.
Gruden, I think he was stunned. I think he was like, what?
Well,
and then they kind of broke into like a little joking thing.
Yeah.
I think that's the only way to really exit that.
Yeah. It was really awkward because even in the coaches meeting, because they had like a coaches meeting like right after, like they cut to a scene after that, and when John's describing it to the coaches, he kind of lies about it a little bit, doesn't he? Like he doesn't tell you
I might have skipped over that part. Could you refresh me?
Yeah, it was literally like a few seconds. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Like I only picked up on it because I'm really analytical. Like I see a lot of stuff. So like they cut to a scene right after that, and it's a coaches meeting with like John and the other coaches and John Gruden, and they're talking or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, I had to talk to Abrams. He was just after that rough hit, and I was just telling him, man, and he's laughing about it, he's giggling, he's like, man, like you can't. Come on, man, you can't do that. We're in shorts, that's our brothers. You don't want to hate your brothers. And he was like, right. Yeah, no, coach. Like, I'm not trying. And he was like, I like him working extra hard, but also, it's training camp. And like, that's kind of the end of that scene. Like, it really was like, they didn't dive into it, but I like the way John Gruden described that story is not the way it happened in real life. And they got to know that the cameras are going to catch all of this, right? Like in my mind, I know that wasn't a big deal. Like, and I'm sure whoever edited that scene was like, man, this isn't that big of a deal. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm the head coach and everyone is looking to me and trust me and believe in me. And like, even like little tiny lies like that, or like little like shades of truth like that, like in my mind is not a good sign. Like to me, that's just me. Like if I see a head coach lying to his staff about like a small situation, that's kind of a big deal. I don't know. I might be overanalyzing it. I get that, but it just didn't make sense for him to lie about a situation like that. Like, be honest with the coaches. Be like, I told him I was going to cut him. If he doesn't get in line. Like he didn't say anything about cutting him. He didn't say anything about reprimanding him or getting him in trouble. He was just like, like he's just he's just an excited kid. He's an overachiever. That's kind of how he worded it. I'm like, that's not how that went down. Like,
yeah. I agree and disagree. Like, I do think the kid is overachiever. I do think the young man is an aggressive person. I do think he's very confrontational. I do think he's unapologetic about all of who he is, which is totally fine because he owns it. And I think even when he was coming like out of draft, like when around combine time and after his last season, they even said like this guy, he'll talk, but he'll back up his talk. He's 100% go all the time, and that's what he is. Even when he came and talked to that rapper. I don't know if you got to that part of the episode.
Yeah, I got there.
Episode, but he came over to the rapper. The first thing he said is like, "Hell no, I thought you was black." That's the first thing he said to him. Like, he like shook his hand. It was like a very nice greeting, and like he was like, "Damn, you fooled me," or some shit like that. Like, that's just how he is. That's just how he is. He's loud and he's facing whatever, but I kind of like that in defensive backs.
Yeah. It is fun to watch, and it's good to have a player like that who is very cocky, which we're gonna get to in our next story. There's one more thing we need to take from this episode, though, and it's kind of a big deal if you're really big into like sports and these documentary series. If you didn't know, Ronald Ollie was in the first season of Last Chance U, and he's basically like a guy who's been given so many chances, man, like left and right, and everyone has helped him and everyone has pushed him and everyone has tried with this guy, and he is so frustrating, like such a frustrating human being. I get, like we all have different backstories, we all come from different walks of life. But man, like you have the opportunity of a lifetime. Like you have put in like literally your whole life's work up to this point to be in the NFL. And you're there. You are in the NFL. Like, yeah, you're fighting for a position, but you're there. Like coaches see you. Like they're literally talking to you. They're touching you. They're interacting with you and training and teaching you things, right? And this kid literally, like, they didn't say, like, what day it was, if it was first or second day training. but I guess he just wasn't standing out like he thought he would, or I guess he just wasn't, standing up to par to what the coaches really wanted from him. And he, at the end of one of the practices, he goes, "I can't go." Like, he looks over to one of the trainers and he's like, "I can't go." Yeah. And the trainer comes over to him. He's like, "What's wrong, man?" He's like, "It's my foot, man." Like, that's literally how Ronald's talking. He's like, "It's my foot, man." Just like depressed, like down on himself.
Out of nowhere, too.
Yeah. Literally out of nowhere.
Like, where did that come from? Like,
and it made no sense.
You just bowed out. You basically just bowed out of a drill and bowed out of your reps and pretty much just gave up on national television. This isn't the, like. Do you have any pride for yourself?
Yeah.
Do you want this? Do you want a shot at something you've been working for a long, long time? You just get to this point. He just seemed like he got scared and he just felt like he was outmatched.
It was
part of me feels like it was a stunt to even bring him in.
It felt like that too.
Like just bring him in, and then like the minute he messes up, just set an example of
yeah.
It. I don't know that. I don't even know that for a fact or anything. But like, I was just like, man, they like John Gruden was like, let's get players out of here who don't want to be here, and literally. That's what he did. Like, he was gone.
Yeah, they literally cut him that day. They cut him that day.
That seemed really quick.
Is he
until about second or third episode?
Yeah, I was really upset about him. I was really upset about that situation. He to finish the story, he walks off. He's not even limping. Like, you clearly don't see him limping. Like, they keep the camera on him, and he walks off the field or whatever. They cut to the next day, and he's in a meeting with his defensive line coach, and his coach is like, "Yo, man, what are you doing?" And Ronald's like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You didn't go to treatment today." He's like, "You got to go to first team treatment. You didn't go." And he's like, "Oh, no one told me." And he's like, "Bro, this is the professional football league. You are like, no one tells you to do this stuff." And then the coach was like, "Actually, I did tell you yesterday when you went off the field. I told you to go to treatment this morning." And you were like, "Did I not?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Bro, I like there's nothing you can do with a person like that." Like,
Exactly.
I get it. I totally get it. Like, maybe you just came up in a really abusive home. Maybe like people have just pushed you down so emotionally that you just don't think for yourself. Like, I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is, and I'm not trying to judge him on what happened in his past. But you are a man now, and I get that, things in our past haunt us and, really push us down sometimes. But dude, you got to overcome that. Like, you got to understand the situation you're in. You got to read the room. Like, you really have to like get a grasp of the opportunity you were given. And I was just so frustrated, man. I was so mad when I saw that, dude. Because watching him in Last Chance U, he was just one of the best players in that college. And everyone knew he was just a special player, but he just always like would push down on himself, like just not do anything. Like, he just used his raw talent to get by in college. Like, that's all he did. He didn't train, he didn't practice, he didn't do anything. And there was a after episode. There was like a post-life episode during Last Chance U, and they showed him training for the NFL. Like, they were like, the trainer or whoever the guy was training him, he was like, "Look, he looks like a big boy, but his feet are some of the fastest feet I've ever seen in my life." Like, he was like, "This guy has like the fastest feet." And even in Hard Knocks, the coach at one point, when you first see him, he's like, "Boy, you did like 16 steps before you even got off the line." Like, he was like, "You're moving your feet way too fast," like kind of, acknowledging like, "Hey, that's cool, but also you're doing it wrong," trying to help him. But still, like, he has so much talent and gift, and he's given up. Like, he's just straight up given up. So
it was really disappointing.
It really was. Yeah, so moving on. So that was episode 1. I think Tyler and I, we're just going to go ahead and just give you reviews as they come. Unfortunately, I don't think...
I'm also doing reviews on the turf with a buddy of mine named Scott. So he and I are doing those together, and I think we're gonna put one out like tomorrow, probably.
Okay.
So I finished that, and so we can kind of link the two. Yeah. So go ahead.
Cool.
Go ahead on to the next one. Sorry about that.
So yeah, make sure you check out the Turf on Facebook and get involved with them. Okay, moving on. We were talking about cornerbacks and how cornerbacks, we like cocky cornerbacks. It makes the game fun. It's just a good time to see someone just have that much confidence, and I mean they kind of have to be when you're guarding these prima donna wide receivers who always want pass interference. So you gotta have tough skin. Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars have probably one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the NFL.
He's the best corner for sure.
Mr. Jalen Ramsey. But Jalen has not been happy since last season. And, the Jags had a rough season last year, but Jalen really had an emotional rough season, to say the least. He does not handle losing well at all. Like, he can't do it. And in his mind, I think he thinks he needs to be with a winning team every single year. Like, I don't think he understands the concept of building or, trying to create an environment that is winning. He wants
just odd.
What?
Which is odd to for where we're going to end up here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's why I say it like that, because it is a weird situation. And what he says is even weirder. But one of the teams makes sense. The other team doesn't. So anyways, if you don't know, Jalen is from Nashville, Tennessee, I think.
Or it's Smyrna or Smyrna.
Smyrna, yeah, something like that. But he's from Tennessee. And so he's a really, really big Tennessee Titans fan. Like, really big. And in the offseason, he goes back home, obviously. That's where his family is. And so there's a really popular podcast up there called Bussin' with the Boys.
Yeah.
It is a podcast based out of Tennessee. And these guys have been trying to get Jalen on for a long time. Now, obviously, they're a Tennessee Titans podcast. And to give you context of the Jaguars and the Titans, they're both in the AFC South, which means they're very big rivals, massive rivals. To give you more context of the Tennessee Titans, they suck. Like, they have to be the worst team in the league, if not the second worst team in the league. Like, they're so bad. They're really, really bad.
They'll probably be better than last year. It's just they're so mediocre that it's just that bad.
Yeah. I mean, their quarterback, they believe in a quarterback that's worse. I wouldn't say he's worse than Blake Bortles, but he's pretty close.
He's definitely worse than Blake Bortles.
You think? I don't think he's worse than Blake. I think he's really close to that. I don't think he's worse.
I absolutely think he's worse than Blake Bortles.
I would have taken him over Blake Bortles.
What'd you say?
If those were my only two options to start at quarterback, I would have taken Mariota.
Not a chance. Their interception and turnover ratio is just about the same. So,
yeah.
But Blake has more touchdowns and more playoff wins.
So anyways, that's off topic. Sorry.
That's off topic.
So Ramsey was on the podcast, and the guys on the podcast basically asked him, where do you see yourself in the future as a player? Like, where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself with the Jaguars or maybe somewhere else? And Jalen, left field, says this, and I quote, "I would probably be here, a.k.a. Nashville, or Vegas," is what he said. He says, "I like Vegas. They don't have any state income tax." Okay, what do you think Florida is? And then
neither does Nashville.
And then neither does Nashville. So that's kind of all he said, and that's all he's kind of quoted on. But to clarify, he still has 2 more years left on his contract. Obviously, he'll probably hold out if he doesn't get a renewed one by next year. He's already complaining about upping his contract now.
Yeah. It's a stunt. It's a stunt for sure. He for sure is trying to just make the Jags known hey, I could go back home to your biggest rival who is consistently beating us with me on the team. What if I go over there and I'm on their team and we can't even beat them when I'm on your team. So now you can't even beat me. It's a basic stunt. He's trying to get more money, obviously. It's a good stunt. it sucks, man. It really sucks as a Jags fan because I like Jalen Ramsey and I love him as a Jag, but part of me like sometimes, feels like, damn, I don't like that. That doesn't even sound like commitment, And he's still got 2 more years on his contract. If you don't want to commit to those 2 more years, you shouldn't have signed the fucking contract. Like that's how it is. And he could get franchised.
Yeah.
And he could get franchised again. And then he could get franchised the 3rd time and get quarterback money. But that's 5 years from now. Who's to say he'll even be that good? Cornerbacks either can be elite for a long time or they can be elite for a short period of time and then completely drop off, such as Joe Hayden,
Right, yeah.
So it's a gamble for him. So if he wants, I just think sometimes he's kind of an ass about this stuff.
I mean, in my opinion, he definitely is. Like, clear as day. And I understand that he wants to get paid. I mean, look, he's under a rookie contract.
And it's his hometown team, so I'm not mad about that.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that like it almost feels like he's moved on almost, or it almost feels like, if I, obviously he said if I hit free agency, then those will probably be his top 2 destinations,
Yeah, but they have to offer him too. That's the other thing. I don't think he's understanding that. Like with the Raiders, can they even afford him? Like,
well, the Titans can't afford him. The Titans are almost in as bad a shape as we are, and projected to be worse by that time. We're projected to be pretty decent, or the Jags are projected to be pretty decent by the time Jalen's at least definitely able to afford Jalen
by 2020.
By the time he's ready. By the time his 5th year is over. Maybe even, I heard 2020, so I don't know what that means in 2020. Maybe mid-season 2020, not necessarily off-season 2020. But Blake's contract comes off the books. Calais is talking about, he has openly said he'll restructure to a team-friendly deal. They just haven't done that yet. Darius comes off the books. A lot of players come off. People don't realize that, but I think Avery Jones comes off, like the whole defensive line, which is fine because we'll have Jan and
right.
Anyways, so I think the Jags will have more money than the Titans, unless the Titans like do some sort of like drastic change for some reason. But so I think that's why I think he's just kind of BSing,
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of ran over everything I wanted to say, man. I mean, nothing against it at all. Like, I agree with everything you said, man. This is a weird situation, and it's kind of weird now that rookies are starting to pick up on this whole, I'm going to hold out or I'm going to sit out on my contract, even though I have 2 years left. Le'Veon Bell did not help out the NFL. Like, he really didn't. And the new CBA, is coming soon. I'm not sure when they're going to work on it. The CBA is basically like a written out agreement between the players and the owners, and it's how they structure deals. It's how they go about creating a fair system for the players, but also it still has to be business oriented enough for the owners. So there's got to be a balance there, and
collective bargaining agreement.
Right, and so. The new CBA, it's got a lot of things it's going to have to update, change, and so I don't know. We'll see what the situation is, because these holdouts, man, are just absolutely killing teams. I mean, you have these contracts that are written agreements. You have written out an agreement knowing that no matter the situation, no matter how good you play or how bad you play, you get that money. Like that's what you agreed upon. Like you chose to agree to that. Now, maybe a year before your contract's up, yeah, you might want to talk about it and say, hey, I think I've earned it. I think I've earned this opportunity. That situation. But 2 years before your contract, dude, like you can't do that. Like, no offense, in my mind, that's just so like you can't do that any other job. You can't do that in a movie, like a movie job, or any other scenario. You can't do that, And it's getting pretty bad in the NFL. I gotta say, man, it's getting really frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's getting tough to deal with as a fan, just not knowing what some of your favorite players are gonna do on a week to week basis. You not knowing like what your team is gonna, how your team is gonna supplement for that player, because obviously if that player is special, there's a chance that the player behind them isn't anywhere close as special, just because it's hard to put two special players at the same position.
Yeah.
So yeah, it scares people. But anyways, you wanna
Yeah.
hop into?
We'll move on to the last one. We'll move on to the last one because we got to get going. But yeah, hopefully that Jalen situation gets figured out. Okay, Tyler and I have decided to do this little series. We're gonna rank our top 3 favorite specific positions or specific scenarios for teams. So like last week we did the best wide receiver duo. This week Tyler chose we're going to do the best defensive end duos or linebacker duos, or best rushing tandem.
Yeah, defensive edge.
Yeah.
Not tackles, but like defensive ends.
Yeah. So.
Or like a rushing linebacker, like a Von Miller or something like that, or Khalil Mack.
So, Tyler, I will, because we don't have a lot of time, we kind of got to fly through this. So,
yeah,
I'll let you do your first 2, like your third and your second. I'll do my third and my second, and then I'll do my first, and then you do your first.
Okay. Perfect. For my third team, I'm going to go, this one might be a surprise to you, but I got to go with the LA Chargers. This one might be a surprise to you because they're so back, You think Brandon Ingram, or not Brandon Ingram, you think Melvin Ingram, and you think Joey Bosa, and you're like, man, that combination is scary. And it is. It very much so is. But they are also, I don't know. I'm excited about the teams I have ahead of them, I guess, more so than anything. I can't really hate on them. I can't say, this is why they're third.
Yeah.
They're very talented. They're a very talented group. But I guess it's more, at this point, I got to chalk it up to favoritism, I guess.
And then your number 2?
For my second group, I hate that I'm saying this, but I got to go, as long as he plays, it's one of those holdout situations we were just talking about as a rookie. But he's franchise tagged, but they say he might pull up soon to the camp. I got to say Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt. Whatever combination you want to put it in, they're a ridiculous duo. They are both, freakish athletes. J.J. Watt can catch any kind of touchdown. Clowney could murder anybody he wants to. And I gotta give it to both of them. So now you want to do your
I'll do mine too. I know you said we can't use defensive tackles, but I mean, dude, he's so freaking good, and he's a pass rusher. Like, it's essentially a pass rusher. So my third is going to be Dante Fowler and Aaron Donald. Donald, I mean, I know he's a defensive tackle, but he essentially is a defensive end. I mean, he breaks through that line so fast and so hard. Like, he's essentially defensive end. So I'm counting it. That's my third favorite. And then Jacksonville just couldn't handle.
Dante Fowler is violent, and I think he's better than people. He's much better than people think he is. So he's on a 1-year deal, so he's definitely going to be eager to prove something this year.
And then Jacksonville trading away Dante Fowler. I mean, whatever. But Dante Fowler is a stud. I mean, he's a good player. And, that combination there was just a dream for the Rams. So good for them. My number 2, I'm actually going to join with you on that one because J.J. Watt and Jadeveon Clowney was a strategic move. Like, it was one of the most brilliant GM moves I've ever seen. I mean, to have J.J. Watt at the time that you did and he being the absolute stud, and then you turn around and you draft Jadeveon Clowney knowing what he can do, how fast he can get to the quarterback, and literally by year 2, he's one of the best, pass rushers, and now they just complement each other so well. Now, obviously, J.J. Watt has a history of injury issues, but when they're on the field together, man, it's like watching magic, dude. It's so fun to watch. I hate it because I'm a Jaguars fan. I hate to love them, but,
Right.
I respect the hell out of J.J. Watt. He's one of the best just all-around guys, you'll ever freaking meet. He's a freaking mountain,
Right.
like literally a mountain. Like if you've ever wanted to see a walking mountain, just search J.J. Watt. That's him. And so I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, dude, they're just awesome. And then my number one overall, I don't think you and I have the same one because I think I know where you're going. So mine, and I legitimately believe in this one, Von Miller and Bradley Chubb, studs. Like, Von Miller is a freak of nature, like just an absolute freak of nature. And then Bradley Chubb, just a power rusher, man. He's a big dude, stud as well. And it sucks the Broncos don't have an offense because their defense is phenomenal, and they're missing a quarterback. They're missing like wide receivers that legitimately care.
Right.
It sucks because it was like the Jaguars, a few years ago. Like you have this all-star freaking, defense, and then you have an offense. So you have people who go on the field. That's all they do. So anyways, that was my number one.
Cool. Awesome. Well, as you may have already figured out by me wearing the mayor of Saxonville jersey, the Calais Campbell, you want to talk about a mountain, you'll stand next to Calais Campbell. You want to talk about strategery, look at what the Jags did after they traded Dante Fowler. They picked up Josh Allen. So now I think they added an even better pass rusher than Dante Fowler to a team that has Calais Campbell. And then we're talking duos, and I'm sorry. But, so if we're talking duos, I'm going Calais Campbell and Yannick Ngakoue. The two of them are going to be freaks. Yannick's looking for a new deal. He was on a holdout. Coach Maroon's not scared or not worried at all about his condition. He's like, Yannick's a freak. He's gonna show up ready to play all the time. There's no need for any sort of install on this guy. Literally, Yannick showed up in the building and they put him in the starting lineup without question. And Josh Allen has been performing well for a rookie. So add those two together, plus Josh Allen. Man, I think it's gonna be great, dude.
So
I think it's gonna be great. I'm praying every day that Telvin Smith comes back, because the linebackers are falling back to trash. But if the linebackers play well, the defensive line is gonna wreak havoc. Man, they're gonna just kill it. They're gonna kill it. Anyways, so number one team is the Jaguars. Honorable mention for me, I gotta say, also Minnesota Vikings with the combination of Everson Griffin, Danielle Hunter, and Anthony Barr there. I like the Bears.
Cleveland.
There's one. Oh, Philadelphia has a great rotation as well. So yeah,
Cleveland's got a good duo too. With what's his name? Myles Garrett.
Who are you talking about? Philadelphia?
No, Cleveland. Cleveland has.
Yeah, I thought about Myles Garrett, and then they got Sheldon Richardson at the defensive tackle position, but then they have another.
There's another one though. Yeah. I can't remember his name.
He's like Agbunu or Akban or something.
Something like that, yeah.
He's number 77 or 71, but he's pretty good.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Big Mig, I see you chiming in. Tyler, Big Mig called you a walking mountain, and then he also said that you're biased with your pick. So
I am
obviously,
biased with my pick.
So
I started at number 3, and I said this is picked off of favoritism.
So next week, let's do. So I'll pick for next week. We'll do best. You know what? Since Rob Gronkowski is out of the league, we'll do our top 5 favorite tight ends going into the season. So
glad you went deep on that, because top 5 is deep, and we'll be able to talk about some people. But like top 3, we'd probably say the same people. You know?
Yeah.
What I mean? Anyways.
Wait. So you want to do top 5 or top 3?
No, top 5.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Top 5 would be good. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. You guys have been awesome. Again, Tyler, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at theturfsports.com. Head NFL writer for there. So that's www.theturfsports.com. And yeah, you can find me on Facebook at Tyler Williams, or on Instagram at TDub58, Twitter at TDub5890. So
Sweet.
look out for me.
And as always, you can always find us at Amplified Network, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff. YouTube, please go check out our YouTube page because we got so much content on there. I'm losing everything. So stay tuned. Literally in 15 minutes, we have our new show, The Salty Cult. Those guys are going to be starting their new series literally as they're walking in right now. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. We will talk to you guys later. Bye.
Peace.